Welcome back to another Three Amigos video. If you want to find out what the experience is like to bid from Leica auction online, as well as to see what's in this mystery box, then stay tuned and watch till the end of this video. So Leica auction just held their 46th auction in June, and boy was it absolutely crazy. Over 445 items were auctioned that day, and here are some highlights from that crazy auction. It includes this Leica Zero series, which was sold for 7.2 million euros. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Leica Zero series was designed under the guidance of Oscar Barnack, who is often called the father of 35mm photography. And these prototype models laid the foundation and the groundwork for the first commercially produced Leica camera, the Leica 1, which was produced in 1925. Now, according to Leica, only 22 of these Zero series cameras were made, and it's believed that only half of them exist today, making these surviving samples extremely valuable and extremely rare, and it's sought after by museums and private collectors. And according to some of the Leica archives, this number 112 was delivered directly to Oscar Barnack himself, which adds a very unique status to this piece. Now, some other very notable collections sold in the auction includes this Leica 3 with the serial number 700,000, which sold for 3.36 million euros. Another very beautiful Leica film camera which was sold was this Leica M4 Olive, which sold for more than 450,000 euros. Now, there is a live auction which you can participate in Vienna, but I think unless you are the rich guys who are bidding for these crazy items, I'm not aware that mortals such as myself can get access to these auctions. That being said, there is a concomitant sort of online auction which we can actually have real-time bidding. Now, this was the first time that I participated in a Leica auction, and in fact, this is the first auction that I've been to any kind of myself. And it presents a unique opportunity and insight into this crazy world of Leica collectors. Now, whilst one can be quite easily intimidated by some of the crazy prices that you will see on this auction, not everything is crazily expensive. There are actually some affordable items which you can pick up. Now, if you actually look hard enough and for the right price, I think you can pick up some items which I believe are a good deal, and this is what I did, and so I'm also very excited to share with you what I have purchased later on. There are still several classic Leica lenses which have always been on my radar, and this includes lenses such as the steel rim, the 8-element Summicron, the E58 Nautilus, and the 28mm 9 elements. These are all lenses which have always been on my long-term sort of grail list. Now, that being said, these lenses aren't easy to come by, mainly because these are sort of vintage lenses, and so it can be quite difficult to find lenses in a good condition, and as well as to find them at what I would regard as an appropriate price. Now, how this Leica auction works is that you can actually place online bids before the auction begins, and you can actually set a minimum bid on the website. So for example, if something I'm buying is 5,000 euros, I can set a minimum bid of, let's say, 7,000 euros. So for example, if I place a bid at 5,500 and someone places a bid at 6,000, it would automatically outbid that person until it reaches my sort of maximum bid level. Now, whilst I was browsing, I came across many beautiful steel rim lenses, including those in black chrome, and as well as some early generation steel rims and Nautiluses. Now, what's quite interesting about when you're trying to place an auction online is that you need to place a 20% deposit with a credit card if your bid is going to be more than 10,000 euros. So that's something that you need to take into consideration itself. So whilst I was browsing the auction catalog, I came across this very interesting lot, which was quoted as the M3 Chrome outfit. And as I was reading through the description of the M3, I noticed that there was a steel rim attached to the lens. Now, when I was looking at this lot, I thought that the estimated price was fairly reasonable. And I actually was kind of trying my luck, because if you actually didn't look into the detailed description, you would actually miss the steel rim that was also being auctioned together with this M3. As I mentioned, the steel rim has always been one of the grail lenses which I've been looking for. It holds a legendary status amongst collectors, and it's known to have a sort of very pleasing Leica glow whilst retaining sharpness. In comparison to the pre-aspherical 35mm, which I already own. So it was definitely on the top of my grail list all along. Now, what else was included in this collection was also a dual range Summicron 50mm, which is also a lens that I've always wanted to try. And it also included a bunch of accessories, as well as two other 90mm and 135mm lenses. Now, before the bid began, I set what I would regard as a pretty low ball bid. That's because I know that this bid would get outbid eventually. And on the day of the auction, I was looking at the streaming online, and I wasn't feeling confident because all the other live auctions were fetching crazy record high prices. So come auction time, I'm watching the prices, and I'm expecting the prices to just go crazy. And I actually wasn't planning to bid further, because the price that I paid was what I felt comfortable for what I could afford. And to my surprise, when the bid began, no one actually bid for my item. And very soon after, in 5 to 10 seconds, the auction was over, and I received a notification saying that I had won the bid. Now, what are some of the advantages of buying from the Leica auction? For me, number one is authenticity. Now, authenticity is of absolute importance when it comes to buying Leica goods, especially vintage ones. Now, I have had experience of buying from the Leica Classic online store. I've bought the 75mm from them, so I had a very, very positive experience when I was purchasing from them before. Secondly, you can also be very assured in terms of the conditioning of the lens. So if they tell you it's a condition A or AB or BA or B, then I think it can be quite relied upon, and they do tell you if there's any defect or problems with the lenses in terms of the external appearance, whether or not there's any hazing, if there's any cleaning marks, which I believe all will affect the price as well. Now, that being said, there are several disadvantages when we're purchasing from an auction house. The first thing that I noticed was that they actually charge a 20% hammer price towards the good, which means that even though I only paid 7,000 euros, that's what I bid, but there was a 20% surcharge or 1,400 euros towards the final hammer price. But that is the price that you pay when you are buying from the official Leica auction store. The second thing which came to my surprise was when I got the bill, I noticed that they charged 120 euros for UPS Saver. Now, I believe that's quite expensive, but that again, this is their official distribution, so there's nothing that we can do about that. So without further ado, let's go into the unboxing of this video. I have not touched it at all, and so I am equally excited to see what it comes like and how it is packaged. All right, let's open this up. So this very nice packaging. I believe this is the M3 camera. All right, let's open them and see what we have inside. Right. Legendary steel rim. All right. Here we have the dual range. Now what's quite cool about the dual range is that you have a close focusing adjustment over here, so it actually focuses down to 0.48 centimeters. Now the cool thing about this lens is that it has you need to attach it to the goggles. However, you cannot use this on digital Leicas with the exception of the M11. So this is a 90mm 2.8 Emirate. And last but not least, this is the 135mm f4.5. Ooh, there's a very interesting smell to the case. Smells like old leather. The Leica M3 was the first film M body that was released by Leica. And what's cool about this Leica is that it features a 0.9% magnification, so which means that it's going to be much easier to focus, especially for the 50mm. What you notice is that the frame lines are built for 50mm and therefore much easier to compose as well. It described it as a condition B, but I think it's better than I expected actually. I love the texture of this sort of what we call lychee skin. Very nice. I believe this is the lens cap for the 135mm. There's the tripod stand, release shutter cable, a light meter, this is the, I believe, the Olux hood. Wow, this is the goggles for the dual range. Very cool box. So there goes my Leica auction experience, and